people like the brick. People
Yes.
like the brick. And, my ex-wife is from Spain, and it's like to get Spanish people to invest in anything but brick is very, very hard. They like the brick
Yeah.
and they trust the brick. And I think that there's something to that. And I think that goes to your point, Nelva, that you were saying at the beginning, which is that, you know, there is something about real estate that kind of is a foundational element for folks and they can trust it.
Welcome to Concrete Build Crypto Financing, where we explore the intersection of real estate and crypto financing. We invite leaders, experts, and both real estate and crypto investors on our show to gain knowledge into the revolutionary new field of tokenized real estate. First, here's a word from our sponsor. Dreaming of real estate income, but don't have thousands to invest? With Concrete Build, CBLD, you can start earning from tokenized real estate for just pennies. Invest in commercial property with CBLD tokens backed by real world assets. No banks, no high fees, just real property, real profits. Your gateway to passive income is here. Invest now at concretebuild.org. Concrete Build, tokenizing properties, tokenizing wealth. And for tonight, we have our guest. It is my pleasure to introduce Bant Breen, the founder of Qnary, an expert voice in modern executive reputation management. Bant and Qnary specialize in executive reputation management, employee advocacy, and executive thought leadership. And we are delighted to have him here tonight. Please join me in welcoming Bant. How are you doing today, Bant?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show, Neva.
Wonderful. Well, I like asking all of our guests this question, and you can just pipe in with an opinion, okay? Even if you're not an expert. What do you see as the future of real estate, and how does crypto financing play a part in that future?
I would say that I'm probably not an expert on the level that you are, or probably many of your guests are in terms of real estate or crypto. But I do hold cryptocurrency. I've had it for a long time. I'm a big believer in blockchain and I'm a believer in stable coins and things like that. I would say that there's no doubt that finance and blockchain backed financial instruments such as cryptocurrencies are the future for sure. What that will look like, I think, is probably still to be fully decided. The fluctuations in the marketplace are tough sometimes for folks to manage. I think that probably many people are looking for a world and a market that maybe has a little bit more stability. Whilst we all like to make money, we don't like to not make money. So we got to be thoughtful on that stability. But I do think that ledger-based financial systems are going to be the way to go. In terms of real estate, wow, the real estate market's been fascinating. I certainly can see how blockchain and crypto can play a role in real estate for sure. I got very excited in some early models that explored that. I think we've had some customers that have played in that space at Qnary over the years. It's probably too early to say there will be one model that'll work for real estate. I imagine there's a lot of people that have their whole life savings in real estate. And so I think it'll take some time to see how the whole market evolves.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I really appreciate that answer, especially in response to the whole fluctuation thing. I really do believe that the answer to that is to make sure that your coin has some utility and it is backed by something stable, such
Hmm.
as real estate, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think that that's really kind of the key thing. I've noticed really kind of this emergence of some of the stable coins that there's a desire to find those fundamental underpinnings that you're highlighting there, Nelva.
Well, let's kind of switch gears a little bit and tell me a little bit more about Qnary and why did you find it? Why were you a founder of it? Why did it start? And a little bit more about what you do for executive.
Yeah, sure. The company focuses on working with executives, founders of companies to essentially build and manage and grow their online presence. And
Okay.
what we realize is that a lot of individuals or companies focused on the company brand or the enterprise brand, but they didn't really think about the people. And when we look at kind of online data and online information, really individuals or the executives behind a company certainly get a lot more engagement than the brand does.
Mm.
They also are really the flag carriers for a company. Trust is really driven and built people to people. And so, I think we kind of started at least, or we're part of the start of a wave that has really focused on building that enterprise reputation or executive reputation and executive and employee advocacy movement. And so, over the last 12 years, we've grown the business. We work with thousands of executives around the world. In many cases, we'll work with entrepreneurs. Some of them obviously were in the crypto space. And, I think the crypto space, it's been a big driver because credibility is really critical. It's not only credibility within the specific community, but also credibility at large. And so I think that transparency is quite important. I think we've been able to play a role and participate in that regard.
I love that. So you worked with crypto executives. How about real estate professionals?
Certainly, we've worked with a ton of real estate groups.
Okay, so
So
first.
yeah, we work with a lot of groups in the commercial real estate, some kind of real estate agent groups, quite a few companies that are involved in construction
Okay.
and development, which kind of touches on the real estate space, the developers for sure. So we've worked with a lot of groups in that space. And I think that, what you continue to learn is it may be, we may find that it's just human nature. People like the brick. People
Yes.
like the brick. And, my ex-wife is from Spain, and it's like to get Spanish people to invest in anything but brick is very, very hard. They like the brick and
Yes.
they trust the brick. And I think that there's something to that. And I think that goes to your point, Nelva, that you were saying at the beginning, which is that, you know, there is something about real estate that kind of is a foundational element for folks and they can trust it. Now, it's a little bit unpredictable right now. I live in Miami, Florida, and there's concerns about real estate because of the fact that you have strange weather patterns and all these
Mm,
fun things, and
yes.
insurance doesn't want to
Insurance.
insurance doesn't want to back houses here anymore. And so it's interesting to see how the markets will evolve in that regard. But in terms of like transactions and investment in real estate, probably fractional ownership really could benefit from having a better financial model that could use blockchain and crypto for sure.
So your company specializes in building a personal brand. Is that
Yeah, certainly personal brand. I mean, your personal brand has a lot of elements to it, right? I
right?
mean, obviously it's also related to your family, to your hobbies, etc. What we're very focused on is your professional brand. And
Okay.
so it was in some ways what we would say is, in a previous generation, if you worked for, let's say, I don't know, big company like McDonald's, you'd say, I work for McDonald's, right? But nowadays, you'd say it's less about the brand being in front of the executive, and now it's more that they're like alongside one another in terms
Right.
of the outside world. And so the individual dimensionalizes the story of the company. And so what we do is we really work with, we'll go into a company, we can work with tens, if not hundreds of executives in the same company to essentially dimensionalize their story and amplify it.
That is amazing. Well, that is very, very interesting. And I'm sure in this era of social media and everyone having their own podcasts, such as myself, that is definitely a needed consultation to
Yeah.
have. So if anyone out there, whether you're in the crypto space, real estate, or any other entrepreneur or executive, if you want more information, Qnary is the place to go. So tell our viewers, where can they find you, Bant?
Certainly, they can go on to www.qnary.com. We spell canary with a Q, as I was explaining to Nelva before. When we started the company, the first logo of the company had the Q as the beak of a bird. So
Oh,
somehow it was a horrible logo, but it worked as a name. And so it's Qnary. And yeah, go on there, book some time, and the team will take you through an analysis of your online presence. And as I said, truly in the crypto space, your online presence and your reputation is extremely important. Unfortunately, as we all know, there's a lot of folks in the space that are not necessarily so reliable and have really challenged reputations. And so, really differentiating yourself, embracing the technology, but also doing it in a way where you're transparent and credible is going to really differentiate you. Yeah.
so if I was to come to you and I said, Bant, Qnary, help me to make sure that my online presence is great, what would be one, two, and three things that you would tell me to do?
Well, I mean, the first thing that we do is that we look at what you look like in search results and we
Mhm.
get a sense of what control you have of your search footprint. And I often say that your first page of search results are for better or for worse. If you're crushing life and you're doing really well, you want to have as much control over those results because you want to drive traffic to the areas you want. God forbid you get caught up in a scandal. You
Oh, wow.
definitely want to have control over that because that's where, you'll have groups kind of challenging your story. There are certain channels, obviously, that are more important than others. In the crypto space, there are certainly ones that we would, maybe focus on things like Discord and other things in the crypto space. But for many business executives, we're focused on things like LinkedIn,
Mm.
Blue Sky, Threads. These are some of the channels that we're working on, and then also generating longer form content pieces that we really distribute around a wide variety of kind of sites that are thought leadership sites. So maybe pieces in for crypto specific pages and kind of aggregators of content in that space.
Okay, all right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. That was very good information for anyone that's out there in the social media space. And obviously, we're all in, digital. We all have a
Absolutely.
digital footprint. So definitely check out Qnary and Bant
Yeah.
team.
Thank you so much, Nelva. One of the things that we say is we all have a digital footprint, and that footprint matters. It matters in terms of, our own reputation, as well as the opportunities that we receive as individuals, as well as the reputation and the opportunities that the business that you've created receive. Because we got to remember that we're connected. There's an interconnection there, and so making sure that we make the most of it.
For sure, for sure. And just to kind of tie everything up really nicely, if anyone wants more information about Qnary, obviously visit Qnary.com, correct?
You got it.
I
You
got
got
it.
it.
And obviously, if you want more information about how to tokenize your properties, visit concretebuild.org. Concrete Build, tokenizing properties, tokenizing wealth.
Cheers.